Will 2025 be the year of a massive market crash? It's something we're going to examine today. I'm going to talk about tensions I'm seeing going both ways as I look at articles and news stories and financial influencers and what I think might be where it goes and how I am planning for this. So, welcome here today. It is Wednesday, December 11th, 2024. We are soon moving into 2025, and there is certainly a camp of people who think that we're on the eve of a massive stock market crash. There are also people thinking that we're going to continue to rally, and if you look at the bets being placed by the major financial firms, that appears to be the direction they think it's going. They think everything's headed up. But other people are betting their money and thinking it's going down, particularly Warren Buffett. If you read the articles, he has been pulling more and more of Berkshire Hathaway into cash positions, right? So he is selling off company stocks and actually accumulating money, placing that in the bank and holding it. And obviously, if you're trying to get a high return on investment, generally holding money in cash is not a desirable place. So this means that Mr. Buffett must think that there is a good chance that he's going to be able to buy stocks on sale. And so there's a lot of people reading that tea leaf saying, hey, Warren Buffett's accumulating cash. He must think the market's about to go down. There are also people that are very concerned about the debt, concerned about fundamentals with the U.S. consumer, with debt both public through the U.S. deficit and private through credit cards and other borrowings going up. Delinquency rates starting to shoot up in some areas. A lot of people are saying, hey, the U.S. consumer, the average person, is starting to run out of money. They're not going to be able to pay their bills. And because they're not able to pay their bills, that means we're going to hit some type of recession or maybe even depression, right? We could go completely the wrong direction. And so there are people who think that that might be the case going forward, and they're betting the market's going to go down. On the other side, you have a large group of people who think that corporate profits and earnings are justified, and they think that that is going to continue. The argument there is that money keeps getting easier and easier. There's more money in the market, therefore profits are going to continue to go up, and that's going to mean that the stock market will continue to go up. So if things are good, if these Trump tariffs work the right way, businesses are going to be earning more money, and that's going to mean higher and higher profits. That makes the stock more valuable. People are willing to sacrifice more to own it. They're going to capture all those dividends and other great things that come from owning the stock in the future. Therefore, it is buy. And that seems to be where the market is right now. Personally, and again, this is not investment advice. I'm not an investment advisor. I want you to talk to your investment advisors and just use this as a piece of mix of information for you to do diligence on, which is, personally, I think that we are in that type of a melt up. As I look at the situation with the U.S. debt, the government has constantly bought itself out of problems. And the history seems to show when they buy themselves out of problems, they create fresh money. It goes out into the economy, and eventually that spirals into inflation. There can be a lag of some period of time, but it continues to go up. And we're living in a world where we all have to be speculators. That's something Tom Blvd talks about a lot on his channel, and I have taken that to heart, and I agree with him on that. Because of all of these things going on, you and me and anybody who wants to try to tread water or grow financially becomes a speculator. It is necessary for you and me to make bets on what's going to happen, whether that's gold, whether it's Bitcoin, whether it's stocks, whether it's real estate. We're betting on the future with our hard-earned money because we don't have much choice to have a safe other vehicle to put our money in, right? We can't just park it in the bank. If you park it in the bank, it's a loser's game because inflation is, in many people's opinions, higher than the government published rates. The interest rates on these bank accounts tend to be relatively low. Also, you get taxed on that interest in general, right? So as that interest is paid out to you, not only are you not keeping up with inflation or barely keeping up with inflation, but you're increasing your tax bill and burden. So for the average person, this is a lot of problems and difficulties coming together. So what do we do for the future? Well, we need to figure out how we can deal with this. And one way is to get into assets, right? This has long been known that one way to protect yourself from inflation is not to have money in the bank, which is going to stay the same with low interest rates and not really grow through inflation, but to hold assets. And those assets could be stocks, they could be real estate, could be gold, could be Bitcoin, could take a lot of different forms. But stuff that is either tangible, like houses or gold, or stuff that even is intangible but tied to future earnings, like stocks, rental income from real estate, things like that. Those income streams should theoretically inflate when things go forward. So we're having to make bets. Do we think the bottom's coming out of this economy and everything's going to crash and therefore stock prices are going to go down? Get your money out now. And there are smart people that are going that direction. Versus, are things going to go up? Are they going to inflate? Are things going to be worth more in the future? And that tends to be the camp that I personally am leaning to. Again, not investment advice, make your own decisions for yourself, but I'm of the camp that I think things are going to continue to inflate and we may still have more inflation coming. I think the government is going to be forced to print and create money in the future to cover the deficits. They're not going to want to do the things to cut the federal budget in a massive way. And I know there's talk about that here in the U.S., about cutting the debt and streamlining the government. But what I think we're going to find is as that process gets launched, is there's going to be a lot of court challenges. There's going to be agencies and government employees who do not step out of the way very easily. They're going to fight to keep their jobs, to keep some stability in their lives. And I think the tariffs are also going to have some effect on disrupting the markets and possibly creating some inflation as well. Inflation, while it's a negative from your personal budget, and it is largely a hidden tax, it is a matter of if the government can't pay its own bills through taxation, one way it can pay its bills is through inflation to print more money and to cause everything to go up in value. It's that hidden stealth tax. And if that hidden stealth tax hits, we all pay for it. But it's easier from a political standpoint to do it through that manner. So I think that that's what's coming. I don't see anybody saying, hey, let's raise taxes. I don't see a realistic plan to massively reduce a lot of the government expenditures because while there are possible efficiencies within some government agencies and their salaries that can be cut, a lot of the government money is going to things that are very hard to cut, like the military, particularly in a geopolitically uncertain time right now. A lot is shifting. And so probably a lot of people do not want to make the military smaller or spend less money on that. Meanwhile, Social Security, Medicare, things like this are hard to cut, right? It's hard to take people who are relying on an income stream from the government and tell them that their benefits have been cut. You know, this may mean that people have to move, they have to relocate, they can't afford to eat, they have to, do very hard things. It's just not politically tenable to go to a large part of the political base and tell them they're going to lose out, which means the government is going to have to figure out a way to make up for these debts, and that mounting $36 trillion plus debt is probably going to continue to mount. By the way, $36 trillion being the published amount. A lot of analysts saying the real amount, when you factor in Social Security, Medicare, and other promises, is actually closer to $200 trillion. And by my math, that comes out to about $500,000 or more per person in the U.S., including the people who are not of working age, the people who are disabled, etc., right? Each of us, on average, is not sitting on $500,000 that we can chip into the government to help pay off the debt. So at some point, that comes home to roost, and it comes home to roost through the government creating more money to potentially make it look like they paid it off on the books, right? From a book standpoint, when you run this inflationary cycle, you make everybody think that they received money that was valuable, but as more money goes out, the money actually gets less valuable. But on paper, you've paid off your debt. Meanwhile, that money out there is going to be chasing more and more expensive things, including more and more expensive gas, more and more expensive retail, more expensive things. All the things that the companies in the S&P 500 or the other major indexes of the stock market receive profits from. So as more revenue comes into these companies, their profits start to generally bulge, and that increases their stock price, which is why I think we're in this melt up. Would love to hear your comments. What do you think? Do you think we're going to melt up, or do you think we're about to hit a meltdown? I always respect all sides and all points of view. Would love to hear your arguments for why you think this is a melt up or a meltdown and what you're doing to prepare. Join us in the comments. If you're enjoying this video, please subscribe. We'll have more videos coming in the future. Consider giving this video a like so more people can see it and start to do their analysis of where it wants to go. And I am really looking forward to reading your comments about where you think things are headed. I'll see you for another video soon.